The pod's on? Well, then let's get into it. The Leafscast is back.
Holy mackerel, what a shot! It's Austin Matthews! Do you believe that? Pounds it off the roof of the net!
Welcome back to the Leafscast. Stephen Douglas joined by Tim and Ryan Allison for the first off-season podcast of the off-season. Lots to get into.
I feel like we waited longer this year to circle back on the offseason. I think in previous years we circled back after a week or two to decompress. It's been a solid month that we've taken off here to get over this loss.
Well, I think, Rye, you and I are taking a lesson from Tim's book. Tim has, for years now, I think, done a solid sabbatical from the Leafs after they disappointed us in the playoffs. And maybe, Rye, you and I have been too quick to get into it. I've just taken a page out of Tim's book and watched some playoff hockey, but mostly didn't think about the Leafs very much lately.
The problem is that as soon as the Leafs are out, the media have nothing to talk about, and so they just make up these wild stories, and it's brutal, and all of them just like make you angry. All of them, 100%.
They do like making us angry. That is true.
That is what the media does.
I think some of the reason why we haven't wanted to think about the Leafs too much too, though, is it's not all good news. It's not all sunshine and rainbows in Leaf land. We've got some tough decisions to talk about. We've got, it is absolutely not sunshine and rainbows, different than maybe some other playoff L's in the past. Let's get into the state of the union of the Leafs right now and where we stand. So we are 8 days out from free agency beginning. Obviously, the Stanley Cup has been awarded to Florida. We're going to get into that soon. But if you log on to TSN and you click on the top 100 free agents, you're going to see a Maple Leaf at number 1 and a Maple Leaf at number 5 or number 3, and that's
number 5.
Well, JT was number 3, and then I think it sounds like Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand are going to. The Athletic had JT at 5. No, that
makes sense. There's a very limited pool of centers available in this year's free agency, so I'm not surprised Tavares is that high.
But let's get into Mitch Marner. So when we left the last pod, it seemed it didn't look good, especially with how things ended, that like the Leafs were going to be super aggressive and wanting to play whatever game Mitch Marner is trying to play to get the most amount of money he can come free agency. And as it stands right now, I put it at a less than 5% chance that Mitch Marner re-signs with the Maple Leafs.
I mean, you say it's not looking good, but like it's probably a fair amount of people, I would put myself included, to say that it probably is good that the Maple Leafs are moving on from Mitch Marner. Clearly it's not working. We need to try something else. What's not good about the situation is that we let it get this far that he's going to walk away for nothing. Like, we should have handled this 2 years ago instead of waiting, knowing that if we don't succeed the next 2 years, he's going to walk for nothing. We should have seen that writing on the wall. We didn't. So it's not necessarily bad that Mitch Marner's leaving. It's bad the manner that he's leaving, and it's unfortunate for a homegrown Toronto kid like that who's going to be the savior of the franchise to now probably get booed in his return to Toronto from whatever team he's coming in on.
I know. It's been like, you go back 2 years, and I'm sure like Kyle Dubas at the time looked and said, "Oh yeah, he'll probably come back," and that's why Kyle Dubas gave away all these no trade clauses that he did. And I mean, credit to Leafs, I guess back in this winter of the trade deadline, they saw this coming of like Marner might not come back, and so they tried to trade him, but Marner shut it all down then. And I think it is tough because it's hard to say how much of the stories going around the media are like made up, how much of there's thread of truth in them, but it sounds like Marner is just like as done with the Leafs as the Leafs are done with Marner. And like, yeah. It'll be interesting, like how much of it is like, is it him whining? I don't know. Are we gonna villainize him? I think we are. I think he is gonna be booed. Like he's the poster boy of Leaf era marked by failure.
Yeah.
Isn't that wrong though? That he's the poster boy? Like, maybe the fact that he's the poster boy just means because the players are always the poster boy. But it's not his fault that the front office decided to run it back 9 years in a row. And like, at some point, it's just, I feel like if I'm gonna point my finger at why have the Leafs not got it done the last 9 years, Mitch Marner's not the top of the list. It's probably Brendan Shanahan at the top, and then Kyle Dubas / Brad Treliving below that, and like it goes from the top down of deciding to continually run this back and not do anything about it to switch it up and change it. And it's because nothing's changed. It got to the point where now Mitch Marner is wearing all of that.
Here's the thing, though. You ask Mitch Marner or Austin Matthews or any of these big guys, they're all going to say, no, I'm the best player in the world. I can get it done. We had some bad luck. Like, I'm sure these guys with their huge egos, they're not.
Yeah, but they're wrong. That's why they're not the GM. That's why Kyle Dubas was the GM, and he decided, no, we're going to keep going. That's where it shouldn't be Marner wearing all this blame. It should be Toronto's management and front office wearing all the blame. Like, they have created this, and they've gotten away from the blame by firing Dubas and bringing in Brad, and then firing Keefe and bringing in a new coach there, and now they're letting Marner go, and they'll bring in Brad Marchand. So like they just gonna keep on finding other ways to distract us. But I'm not distracted. I know it's their fault.
But like the situation, it's unprecedented. I think a player with 100-point season, under 30 years old, going into NHL free agency. And the fact that the Leafs are on the negative end of that's crazy. But Rye is totally right that even if he were here, we'd be like, if the Leafs still had him signed this offseason, we'd be talking about how do we move Mitch Marner now, right? So the only he wouldn't be here, I think, next season regardless. The fact of the matter is, though, like if we had him signed and got to trade him, we'd have other pieces coming back, because if we lose Mitch Marner and John Tavares for nothing, it's going to be a rough look to the Leafs next season, and like Ryan said, it's a rough free agent class, and so it's tough. But this Mitch Marner stuff, I mean, it sounds like it's a headache even outside of like the Leafs being involved. I mean, the stuff I'm hearing is like he's not gonna be looking to sign on July 1. He might be looking to do a short-term deal. $13 million. No, Tim, that's what I'm just reading. I mean, it's just like stuff online, but it's like people saying, he might be looking for like a 2-3 year deal, wait till the cap goes up and then re-sign from there. So like the Leafs might not even be offering him what he could be looking for in terms of like 8-year deals or something like that, if they were even in that conversation. But it's just
really though, like you said it off the hop, Steven, at the end of the day, the Leafs just aren't going to be the team who brings him back. At least I put it at less than 5%. I put it at less than 1%. Like, he's just not coming back at this point. He's going to go somewhere else. So really, as this is a Maple Leafs podcast, there's really no point of even talking about it anymore. Like, it's a failure on the franchise. We've had our sadness. Let's talk about something new and maybe happier about some free agents that we can bring in, because Mitch Marner's not going to be solving the problem, which means that we have a lot of other holes that we're going to need to plug in a pretty light free agent year.
Well, are we going to talk about John Tavares the same line? So are we going back, or we want to go to everyone's favorite topic, RFA negotiation?
Well, let's just say, though, because we're going to get into, maybe a little bit of a free agency preview and what we look for the Leafs to do. But obviously everybody on this podcast is going to be going into the rest of the pod assuming that Mitch Marner's not going to be on the team anymore. But I do think we should talk about John Tavares as well, because the situation's similar there. John Tavares is coming off a 38-goal season. He's like a 5th or 6th ranked free agent in this year's class, and he's a center. And as of right now, I don't even know what the percentage is that he might be on the Leafs next year versus not. What do you guys suspect is going on?
I still think it's pretty high. Like, yes, Tavares, I mean, he was the captain for a lot of those years marked by failure, but I think you look at the stage of Tavares' career, and like, he claimed he came to Toronto for his family. His family's only more rooted now than they used to be, and so like, I think that obviously they're going to go back and forth. Like, would we love a Jason Spezza contract? Yes, but like Tavares has earned more than that if he wants to.
I feel like Patrick Marleau is the closer comparable, right? Like, it's someone who still has some to give, but they're definitely nearing the end of their career here.
Yeah, or more recently, like Steven Stamkos. I think, you look at Nashville, they probably regret that contract now, but I think the Leafs and Tavares find a way to get it done.
But I going back to unprecedented, I can't think of a guy more motivated to stay on the team that maybe doesn't want him than John Tavares in Toronto right now, because John Tavares is also a big part of why the Leafs have fallen short in the playoffs time and time again. But that guy does not want to leave Toronto. There's no way. And what I'm reading is that the Leafs are offering Like I heard something around 4 years and $4 million a year is what they offered, which is wrong and sounds disrespectful considering the guy put up 48 or 38 goals last season. But
it's definitely very low. Like that would have been nuts if John Tavares said yes. That's definitely a sweetheart deal, and it sounds like John Tavares just said no to that. But what I like about hearing that, and I hope it's true, is because the Leafs, unlike the years of Kyle Dubas, who kind of gave in to the Stars and said I'll fill in around the edges, is saying to Tavares, who, like, you know, you guys already outlined, is clearly motivated to stay here, has a young family from here, all his family, the rest of his family's here. He obviously wants to be a Maple Leaf. Let's use that to our advantage and stick it to him a little bit and say, if you want to be here, then we're not paying you $7 million over 5 years. Like, you go to free agency like Stamkos did and get that money. But if you want to stay here, like you say you do, then you're going to take less. You are going to take less to stay here. And I hope that the Leafs don't budge from that, because we need it. Like, I was looking at the roster today, looking at who are our value contracts. Who do we have that's like, man, you know, like I just watched Sam Bennett win the Stanley Cup. It's disgusting. And win the most valuable player in the playoffs. Disgusting. He makes like $4 million. It's just embarrassing that they have luxuries like that. Who do we have it's been Matthew Knies for the last couple of years. He's about to get a big payday. We don't have anyone. Goalies. I couldn't tell you one player. Yeah, the good point, actually. The goalies. I wasn't looking at the goalies, but that's a good point. Our goalies are cap efficiency. We don't have any players like that, though. And if we're going to make some headway here and close the gap between us and Florida, which looks unlikely, but if we're going to try, we need some cap efficiencies. Tavares has to be one. We got to take advantage of that.
Well, what's interesting is, like, this, depending on what happened with Tavares, but even then, like, him taking a sizable pay cut from the $11 million. Like, Mitch Marner taking him out of the lineup and some of our other UFAs walkings, like, they have the chance to radically change how this team looks like. Like, you look at who's locked in next year on forward, it's like, we have Max Domi, who's, you know, $3.75 million,
Barf.
getting almost Tavares dollars there. And everyone else is like $1 or $2 million. Like these guys we fill in around the edges. None of them are like difference makers. Who knows how many they're going to stay? Like, is David Kampf going to be traded? Is he going to be bought out? Probably not. Is he going to be buried? Maybe. Like, they have a chance to like radically redefine this roster. I don't know if they're going to. The problem is, though, is like there's not good unrestricted free agents out there. You have no capital to trade. Like, is Easton Cowan, is he going to be on the team? Like, you need to have value contracts, like you say, Ryan. Is he NHL ready? We don't even know that. But it's like,
well, we need him to be.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have anyone else coming up. The UFA market's not looking great, so like we need Cowan to kind of come up and all of a sudden be a player, which feels like a really tall ask. Like, I don't know how much we could ask from that kid.
But back to the John Tavares discussion, though, is he a guy that the Leafs can even afford to lose?
Mm-hmm.
Because even though, yes, he's been a big part of why the Leafs maybe haven't gotten it done in the playoffs, that free agency class at center is – nobody on this pod wants Sam Bennett. I know that, even if he wants to come here. It's Mikhail Granlund, Adam Gaudette. Like, those are not second-line center players.
like
And
Claude Giroux's even older.
and certainly not guys that put up 38 goals next season. So while I don't think that the Leafs need to shell out $8 million a year, what did Duchesne get, Tim? Do you remember?
I think it's 4 by 4.5.
And Matt Duchesne was just a point a game player last season for Dallas, and is, gosh, I want to say even maybe a little older than JT. I think he was like the 2008 draft class.
The problem is that, you know, we're signing Tavares to 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is. He shouldn't really be our second line center now. You know, how many times have we seen it in the playoffs with him as our number 2 center, and he just can't do it. He seems that he kind of, I don't know if it's because he's slow, but he doesn't shine in the playoffs like you hope he would. And
he shines only because everyone else diminishes around him, and he's
but it just does it not seem like what we really need at this point of his career is to sign him to be our third line center or our second line winger?
But I think it comes down to
we need someone else to come in and play center, and we need John Tavares.
Well, you have to take a step back and look at this team and say, like, what is this team going to be next year? Mm-hmm. It's not going to be a top 5 in the NHL team in the NHL, I don't think. Like, yes, on a championship caliber team, you have a player like Tavares on your third line. Looking at the way the cards are out, I don't think the Leafs are there anymore. I think this is them, like, the window starting to close. Like, yes, if Matthews takes like a bounce back, they're definitely still a playoff team.
So So I agree, Tim. But why don't you then just offer John Tavares 5 years or 6 years and get the cap hit way, way down? 6 years at $3.5 million, and then all of a sudden, all you care about are those first 3 years, the years where Matthews is still here, and get some value contracts and say, who cares about the last 3 years, because we're going to be missing the playoffs then, and Matthews is going to be going to play for Vegas, and you know what I mean? Like, why don't we have that mindset?
I mean, we did last year, right? Like, that's what we did with all of our old defensemen who are now going to be a year older, right? So, like, do you just double down and say, we'll have 3 years of a window, maybe 2 years of a window, 3 years of, like, waiting for the contract to expire, we'll bottom out, and then repeat. Steven, who's the top high schooler right now who's projected to be number one? Is he from Arizona?
No, America is weak right now. This year is going to be a lot of Canadian kids. The good thing the Leafs don't have a pick till pick 60. Maybe they can pull like what they do in the NBA, where the guys are just like, I'm only going to Toronto. What the Leafs do have, though, if let's hope they can figure out a way to bring back JT, just because even though playoff struggles aside, I'd rather have JT than Adam Gaudette at more, like that kind of crap, right? I mean, you're hearing guys like Morgan Riley's name is out there in trade scenarios, and like that's something that could fetch a second line center. They could look at trading away one of the goalies. The Leafs do have good roster players that are still usable. That other whether they're old or young, the other teams could figure out a way to use. But it's not easy. Like in the NHL, especially for like a good playoff team, it almost feels like your second line center needs to be as good as a first line center to really do anything, right? You can't have like a second line center that's a tweener third liner. So,
well, what's going to be interesting is like, do we spend some of those dollars on defense? Like Aaron Ekblad is kind of the franchise name available on defense, and like last year we spent all this money on defense, but it's like we have such glaring needs at forward. I don't know if they can afford to do that. But like, do you throw away money on these weaker forwards, or do you double down and get? I don't know. What do you? I don't
know if I'd be going for defense. There's so many holes at forward. Like, we need someone to play with Matthews on the top line. We really could use someone else to play. Like, Bobby McMahon was so invisible in the playoffs. I don't know how much faith I have in him moving forwards. Like, we need someone to play on the second line with maybe Tavares if he's back, and Nylander. We need a new third line because it's just pretty garbage. Like, who knows what Max Domi's going to be? He won't show up to the 70th game of the season. So, like, our third line's useless. And our fourth line is just a fourth line. Like, it's just, our forwards are... We used to, like, 4 or 5 years ago, we had the best forward core in the entire NHL. And it feels like we are an Austin Matthews injury away from having the worst forward core in the NHL. So I would not put a cent towards defense. I would not put a cent towards goaltenders. I would say, if anything, those are positions of strength. And I wouldn't even call our defense that strong. Like, it's already old, and now it's older. So I just think that we need to kind of find some diamonds in the rough at forward and hope for the best.
I don't know so much about I'm not so worried right now going into this next season that the Leafs are too old or like going to be falling apart. And even the same thing with John Tavares. It's not like he's got this extensive injury history. And The Athletic has Brad Marchand, a player who's older than John Tavares, higher on the ranking. Like,
he is better than John Tavares, though.
They sorted by playoff points.
I'm just saying, even guys like Corey some of these guys are just figuring out how to get it done later in their careers. And I don't want to, stress so much about, figuring out some guy that, needs to replace John Tavares this coming season, when it is totally possible that John Tavares is just good again next season at second line center. But if you figure out better guys that can play on the wing with him, then you're better. Or you go into the season with that, and then trade deadline comes around, something happens, or nothing happens, and then it's next season's off-season's problem.
But the free agency is so important because if you don't fill the holes now, you're having to trade assets to fix it later, right? Like you've seen it a bunch of times where even like we bring in Klingberg and that doesn't work, and then at the deadline we have to trade a whole bunch of assets to fix our D. Yeah. And even more recently, it was not as brutal as Klingberg, because that was a big contract, but we signed Hakanpää, and then turns out, just like everybody in the world knew, he only has one leg and cannot play hockey anymore, and now we had to add some other players to fix that. It's just like these errors in the free agency, or these missed opportunities, or just having a hole and not plugging it. How many times have we got to the trade deadline thinking, man, we need a third line center? Like, how about you find one in free agency and don't have to trade a first-round pick this year to fill that hole?
It's so tough, though, because, like, the last couple years, like, I think the Leafs, and we don't know what happens behind doors. Like, if they thought in February that Marner's going to walk, they knew how close they were to this window closing. And so, like, it made sense that they sold the farm. They gave away all the picks.
But
and
even
to be fair, like they were one game away from Florida. Like if they beat Florida,
don't even give me that right now, Tim. That we're not one game away from Florida. They are head and shoulders above us. But even putting aside the Marner nonsense, you take a misfire in Domi and give him 4 years at $4 million or whatever he's getting paid. Like, just think about where that cap space could be going otherwise, or camp. Like, that's like $6 million right there. There's your second line center. Like, you can't make misses like that, especially when we're as strapped to the cap as we are.
The center free agency discussion, though, is closed. There is no name. Like, I get what you're saying, that, like, we don't want to have to trade these assets at the deadline that we don't even have. But for free agency this season, if it's not John Tavares, it's going to look really ugly. Ryan, how does Jack Roslovic, second line center on the Maple Leafs, sound to you?
I was just saying that there's an extreme importance of getting it right now, because we don't have a lot of trade assets.
You're interested in Nick Bjugstad as our second line center. Is that what you're wanting?
You seem to forget the William Nylander center experiment. This is it.
Start me. Tim, I'm literally sitting on the couch tonight. I'm like, what are they going to do if they don't get John Tavares back? I was like, maybe Nylander. I was like, stop it. Stop it.
It's probably going to circle around as a story again. Just you wait. We'll be talking about it come the preseason pod.
Oh my gosh. It's a guy you can't afford to lose, but when John Tavares, but when I look at what the Leafs need to prioritize in free agency, it's goal scoring and it's wingers. Yeah. I'm expecting that maybe they sign one of these guys like Roslovic or whoever as the Max Domi replacement, and they figure out a way to move him out or something like that. But I expect that it's Austin Matthews, first line center, John Tavares, second line center, third line center, maybe somebody else. But you're signing guys like Brock Besser, Victor Olofsson. You're buying goals. I think you need to buy some goals.
Please, not Besser.
Why not Besser?
He's a wimp. Weenie.
He's a weenie?
Yeah.
Like a weenie hut general? What are you talking about?
I heard Brad's is going back to the well, and he's looking at Mangiapane, like to say, who was in his underperforming Calgary years, and bring them back to the Leafs, because that'll help.
Can I list off some names, and you guys just give me, like, grunts on whether you like it or not?
We'll see.
If the Leafs are interested in Nikolai Ehlers.
Is he still healthy?
Never. But you sign him anyway. Give me the grunt.
I feel like he's going to get like $9 million.
Absolutely.
Will we even afford Ehlers?
No, not here. He's too soft. Brock Besser, I'm putting it out there right now. I am all in on Brock Besser. I don't think he'll come to Toronto.
A super negative grunt from me.
I would take Besser.
No.
What'd you say, Tim?
I would take Besser.
Oh, yes.
Brian
Tim and I are aligned against. Okay, Mikael Granlund, though. Mikael Granlund's a center, winger, had a pretty good season and all right playoffs with Dallas. He's older, though. I want to say he's like 33.
33, yeah. Yeah, I'd take him over those other guys.
It depends on the price, though. Like these, like 33s. Are we gonna give him like a 6-year deal? I don't know.
Jamie Benn, if he gets to free agency.
No, he's not leaving.
You don't think so?
He's lived his whole life in the tax-free Texas sun. He's not coming to Canada.
I would love Jamie Benn. When we talk about like what we want the Leafs to be, I want Jamie Benn there.
Yeah, I think I'd take Jamie Benn, but I don't think he's coming out. But I think I'd take him.
Brad would say, "Wait, he doesn't have a visor?
Yeah.
We
That's
need
what I'm
him."
saying, though. That's what I'm saying.
He looks tough.
Year 3 of Ryan Reeves' contract is coming up, guys. It's almost over.
Oh dear.
I want just guys who have a long history in the NHL of scoring goals. Victor Olofsson is a guy who is that for me. I really hope the Leafs figure out a way to get him in the building. That's what I'm prioritizing, man. I mean, there's not a ton of sexy names on that list. Like, it really doesn't get too much better than that going down, unless you can figure out some ways to sign some, like, Kyle Dubas style diamonds in the rough. It's a rough class, and 2 Maple Leafs are really headlining it.
Yeah,
it's
like I fear that like they're just gonna try gambling on some of these old guys, like Riley Smith. Maybe like he's 34, maybe not that old, but like TJ Oshie is 38. Is he even coming back?
JVR comes home. TJ Oshie retired. Tim. TJ Oshie retired. Tim's out of the hockey for a little bit.
Is it official?
Yeah, he retired.
Got it.
His
I was gonna say 38.
His like back is broken or something like that. Brendan Tanev, bring him home. You know, though, we should really not be expecting that the Leafs are gonna do a bunch of shot in the darks on, like, you know, guys that they think like $1 million players that they think might be able to figure out a way to make it to the top. That's so not Brad's style whatsoever, right? He shows up to the game of darts with his 4 darts, and he, you know, picks his spot.
Divides the pie.
Wait, hang on. I don't know how darts work. I'm just saying he shoots his shot and
pull the trigger. What about Trent Frederick coming off of Edmonton? I don't know if he'll stay there. Edmonton's got to clear out some stuff. I kind of like Trent Frederick.
As of right now, he could be heading there.
Kapanen, Connor Brown.
I haven't even mentioned him as a legitimate option here, but what do you guys think of Brad Marchand and
Absolutely
the
not.
discussions?
There's a lot of talk, a lot more talk than I was expecting about Brad Marchand coming to Toronto. Like, it sounds like it's either Florida or Toronto from what I'm seeing.
Which makes no sense. That it's why is Toronto so heavily in this discussion?
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, he is exactly the kind of player that Brad would love. And
no, he's small.
Yeah, but he's like, he plays bigger than he is, though, and like he has a big personality on the ice. From what we saw him do in the playoffs, it's a little misleading because he was doing it on like the third line and playing with some other great third line, like the deepest team, and he was feasting on them. Like, if he came to Toronto, he'd probably be on our second line or maybe even our top line with Matthews, and he wouldn't have necessarily the success because you're playing those harder minutes. I would, a little piece of me would die inside if we signed Brad Marchand. Like, that would just be giving in to evil, just succumbing to the evil that was Boston all those years and saying, we surrender, please take us. I couldn't handle it, I don't think.
I 100% agree. It would be tough to that would be that'd be tough. And not even just like for the 3 of us on the Leafscast. I mean, Leafs Nation in a whole would, I think, like, I'd say the majority, I don't know if you guys are hearing different, like the majority does not want Brad Marchand coming here. He's 36.
I know. And
Are
he's
you
going to
kidding
get
me?
paid, too. He's going to get money.
Are you kidding? Yeah, that one just can't happen. So I know that, like, it's not the sexiest names, but I'm really hoping for Brock Besser and Victor Olofsson coming here, and maybe a couple of these other guys, like, for our third line, maybe our fourth line. And I really hope the Leafs go into this and figure out a way to move guys like Max Domi and Scott Laughton. Move some of this money out. Just bring in a whole bunch of new guys.
Man, I forgot about Scott Laughton returning. He got him 2 years. I mean, at least he's only at, well, like, what, $1 and a bit million? Like,
yeah,
he's paid like a fourth line center, and that's probably what he'll be. I guess the priority is probably to move Camp over Scott Laughton, but maybe Scott Laughton has more trade value. Maybe we can get something back for him because he's so low on the cap hit.
Let's get into maybe some guys that are currently on the Leafs.
Mr. Knies?
Yeah, Matthew Knies, right? So Matthew Knies, everyone's favorite discussion, RFA, contract.
Is Brad gonna prove that like he can do better than Dubas? I don't know. It's tough. Like, Knies has I would say just as much leverage as ever, right? Like he knows he's the guy. Leafs are desperate. He's RFA. He's exactly what we need. We have no replacement for him.
Would you guys at this point rather sign Knies to like an 8x8 or a 5x3? If you those are the two options, and Knies said I will take either of these two deals. 8 years at $8 million or 5 years at $3 million. Then after 3 years you have to pay.
No, 3 years at $5 million is what he would.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Okay, I was like,
3
I asked
years
Ryan,
at $5
I'm like,
million.
wait, what? And then Ryan doubles down
I
on
did
the
double
weird
down.
thing.
No.
Steven, you
$5
dumb.
million
You're not
at
listening.
3 years, because then after 3 years he's going to be asking for a heck of a lot more.
I think he's an 8x8. I think he deserves the 8x8. I compare him to the other college, like later pick guys, right, coming to the league a little like when they're 21 or something like that, and they come in productive, and that's kind of what they all end up signing for, right? When you look at like Matt Boldy, when you look at oh my gosh, the guy in Buffalo, that defense Sanderson on Ottawa, that's what they do. I think that's the number. I think that's the number. I mean, how many games could we this season where he was our best player in the game, right? That's an $8 million guy. So,
and you look at next year, like who's on the Leafs that's going to step into, like who's the new core four? We even said this past year, right, that Knies was like basically already part of the core.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have to go into, or like expecting when this cap goes up that everything's just going to get really weird, right? And you've got to have cost control ahead of that. So but
the problem is, like, I think I disagree. I would rather do the $5 million at 3 years, and the reason why is because the cap's going up, but like it's not going up $16 million this season. Like it's going up like a few million every year for the next 3 years, and those next 3 years, while it's going up, are the years that we need to be winning. We're not going to be competitive. Like, we're going to be the number 8 seed in 3 years, like barely making the playoffs. We're basically like a year or two behind where Tampa is. I don't even know if Tampa's going to make the playoffs next year. Like, there's going to be other teams pushing to try and get them out. That's us in a couple years. So why are we spending $8 million when we could only be spending $5 million and get an extra 3 in cap space over the next 3 seasons, the most crucial 3 seasons that the Maple Leafs will have in our window? We could have an extra $3 million of cap space in all of them by signing him to this bridge deal. And I don't even know what Matthew Knies is. Like, is he just capped out right now? Is this what Matthew Knies is going to be? Because he's been phenomenal, way better than anyone anticipated. Why is there this assumption that all of a sudden he's going to get even better?
Well, the tough part about Matthew Knies, same thing that was tough about Zach Hyman and Bunting, is he plays with these superstars. And, like, yes, this past year, he was arguably the motor for those superstars.
Yeah.
But, like, is he a line driver by himself? Hard to say. And, like, but here's the thing in the NHL is $8 million isn't line driver money anymore. That if you drive your own line, that's 10 plus million you get now. And so, like, I don't even know if I don't think Matthew Knies accepts an 8x8.
Yeah, you think he would accept more than that?
You don't think he'd take an 8x8, Tim? I think he would.
I don't know.
I don't know what the Leafs are
Depends
offering.
what greedy is.
The reporting right now is that they're far off from where Matthew Knies is. So I don't know if they're
great. We got another greedy superstar.
That's just what Jabroni's. I don't even know who's reporting it is saying. But
it'd be interesting to know, like, what the Leafs want to do. Like, what is their plan for the next few years? Like, are we obviously going to be capped out next year, but what are we spending that money on? Like, if Marner walks, well, I guess, like, we have a few guys that fill in the gaps, but, like, how tight to the cap are we going to be? Like, is it the difference between overpaying Brock Besser or some super old guy? Is it
well, right now, if everyone, like, if what we expect happens, which is Marner leaves, Tavares stays, Knies gets re-signed and stays, that $14 million you're not paying Mitch Marner is going to have to go to a top-line winger, a second-line winger, probably a third-line center.
What
right?
is Domi?
And, like, that's $14 million, like, on In free agency, that's probably more than $14 million. So
how important is cap flexibility next year when Connor McDavid is UFA?
That changes everything.
That is a question.
That changes everything. We should really get into that because, well, no,
it's not nothing. It's not
it's
nothing
not
at all.
nothing. It's totally not nothing. He hasn't re-signed yet. I mean, it would be unbelievable, storyline wise, media wise, for the NHL's best player and their darling to go the entire season without signing an extension and potentially walk. I'm trying to think of the last guy to do. Well, I guess it's Mitch Marner.
Mitch Marner.
Pasternak kind of did it, right? It's not like, well, and Stamkos did it as well, right? So I guess it's not
like McDavid though. Like McDavid is an entire tier, arguably multiple tiers ahead of those other guys.
What
like
did,
that would probably has never happened in the history of professional sports or a player of McDavid's magnitude to do that. I don't know.
What happened with McKinnon? Did that extend long, or was that like?
I don't think so. I don't remember any drama.
Remember that one either. It's just I don't know. Does he want to leave? Here's the Toronto.
Thing. We went through. We talked about like the odds that Mitch Marner's coming back. It was like somewhere between 1% and 5%. What are the odds? Not just that McDavid comes to Toronto. What are the odds that he doesn't sign in Edmonton? Because I'm personally thinking like 10%, like 90% Edmonton, 10% the field.
The thing is, like, I'm more confident in that McDavid would walk than I am that Marner would come back.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. I
would say either are likely, but
small percentages.
Have you guys ever been to Edmonton before?
Yep.
It's not nice.
Can you imagine? Yeah, can you imagine living there forever? I just think he's a Toronto kid. I saw Jonathan Taves' post today about getting to go play for the Jets. And he had all these like pictures of him in these like sick vintage Jets fits and stuff. Yeah, from when he was younger, and he just seems so excited to get to go home and play for his boyhood team. And
they offered him big money. It's like $2 million contract with bonuses that go up to $7 million.
Yeah, it's a lot of bonuses.
I didn't even see that. So I would hope that he'd consider it. It's just the idea that. Like the mystery of going the entire season with like, well, is he going to stay here or would he go to Toronto? Like
the tough thing about
not
it
being
is
re-signed.
If he does decide to go anywhere, like there are 31 other NHL teams who will clear out any cap space necessary to bring in Connor McDavid. Like it's not like there's only a handful of teams who could afford him. All of the teams would trade away their entire roster to bring him in. So it's like if there's a 5% chance that he walks, that 5% is probably equally distributed amongst 31 other teams. So to answer your question, Tim or Steven, whoever brought it up, about like, should we consider leaving some cap space open for next year because Connor McDavid's going to be a UFA? No, you should not do that at all. And if it comes to it and he doesn't re-sign at Edmonton and it's looking like he might be interested in coming to Toronto, you can deal with that next season. You could trade away your entire roster outside of Austin Matthews and William Nylander, who have no move clause, and Morgan Riley, and everyone else you could trade. Actually, I think David Kampf has a no move clause, but you could fix that problem next year. You don't change your plan this year for the 0.5% chance that McDavid comes home.
Who do you think is more likely to walk, Connor McDavid or Jack Eichel, who's also UFA next year?
Connor McDavid.
No one walks away from Vegas.
No one walks from Vegas. Vegas might walk from him.
Yeah, Vegas walks from him. Well, what are the odds Gary Bettman figures out a way to bring back Arizona and then times that up with Connor McDavid being a UFA and just somehow
Atlanta's making a comeback.
Their third team. Atlanta gets a third team. That's probably going to happen too. I've been to Atlanta. You don't want to hang out in Atlanta.
Is it better than Edmonton?
I've never been to Edmonton.
All right.
Grandma did not get on a boat for me to go to Edmonton. That's what she said to me. She didn't say that to me. I don't think the Leafs should like change their plans or anything. I think you just adapt if the Connor McDavid situation happens. I hope it does. It's be far from the first time that the best player in the NHL has been moved. And it happens all the time in all these other sports. I think it's just been in the NHL we've had a different life because, Sidney Crosby stayed. Alex Ovechkin has stayed. Austin Matthews has stayed. Like just like all the best players in the league generally have stayed in the spot that picked them first overall. And I'm trying to think of the last guy that didn't have like legitimately angry reasons to like leave his team, just left his team for greener pastures.
Jack Eichel kind of did that with Buffalo, but
yeah,
it was a little bit different.
Forced his way out.
You ever been to Buffalo? Anyway,
a few times. Let me ask you guys this: like looking ahead to next year, kind of where the Leafs will. Because Tim, you kind of hinted to it that we're kind of on the decline here. We just won our division for the first time in our season's history, and with us at 108 points, then Tampa at 102, Florida at 98, Ottawa at 97, Montreal, Detroit, Buffalo, Boston. I like saying Boston at the bottom, but I had to keep going until I got to Boston.
Thanks, Ryan.
But where do you guys see the standings shaking out next year? Because I have to think, even though Florida had a disappointing regular season, they're going to be tops. Like I just can't see anywhere. They're the best team in our division by
Here's
far.
the thing:
I think, at this
they
point.
were burying $10 to $20 million of cap space in the last third of the season. That's
Yeah,
like, means
you're
nothing.
right. So like, but if Florida's going to win the division, which I think is probably a pretty safe bet, are we still coming in second in the division? Like I still think we're ahead of Tampa, and I don't think Ottawa, Montreal, Detroit, Buffalo, none of those teams are catching us. So I think we're still probably like a top two team.
Are we ahead of Tampa without like losing Marner?
Tampa's
Well, I
just
think
older than we are. Like they're just declining as well.
I think if you keep JT and you lose Marner and you re-sign or you replace Marner with guys who put up similar numbers, like Mitch Marner was a 100-point player. Can you use that money and get another 100 points on your team?
Mm-hmm. Moneyball.
2 or 3 guys.
Tell me about the cloud, Tim.
I would guess, yeah. So I don't think the Leafs are out of the playoffs if that's the scenario. And I'm going to bet on Austin Matthews having a bounce-back season. I don't think that he's
It will be very interesting to see Austin Matthews without Mitch Marner. Like, this is our whole season, 0 games played with Mitch Marner. Like, what does he do?
Yeah.
You do. Well, it's even like does Nylander, like let's say Marner walks, like do you put Nylander up there, or do you just keep like your forwards?
Nylander's going to be your second-line center, Tim.
Oh, that's a good point. Wait, so Austin Matthews is on his wing?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Brock Besser's first-line center?
The new Leafs.
I'm just imagining, like, you follow the Leafs all off-season, you tune back in, and it's just like, Matthews is wing now? Yeah, it's the new Leafs.
Matt Murray, center?
the new Leafs.
It'll be interesting. Like, and one of these years, like Ottawa or Montreal is going to finish ahead of Toronto.
Yep.
I don't think it's this year.
No.
Might be next year, but like, is this year Buffalo finishes out? I will always say no until
they will miss the playoffs again. It's gonna be crazy.
On paper, they have the pieces, but it's just
no, they don't.
always falling flat on their face.
But
Detroit might make a jump,
but if you go into it with no John Tavares as well, and you have to replace him with Adam Gaudette or something like that, then I start to get really worried. Because I think Austin Matthews is going to have a bounce back. I don't know that he's going to bounce back to 69 goals. He'll be better than he was last season, unless that's just what he is now. And if what he is this past season is just what he is now, then we've got a lot bigger problems than Adam Gaudette and the new Leafs. We've got, I don't know.
Max Domi, first line center, the new Leafs.
That's Ty's son. Yeah.
All right.
Well, we prefaced it at the beginning of the pod, though, man. It's not all sunshine and rainbows in Leafs land.
The way it goes, though, is it's always like despondent until the Leafs do something, and then like the hope starts to build again. At this point, we have like there's so many question marks. We have like, it's impossible to say like what Leafs are gonna do. It's like, for all we know, Brad's going to go and give Reeves a $5 million contract extension. Going to go give Marchand $10 million. And we say, oh, hey, Buffalo, we're now competitors.
I mean, regardless of what they do in free agency, and honestly this entire offseason, unless they figure out a way to trade for some name brand super duper star, my thoughts are I really don't believe right now that this Maple Leafs team with like Austin Matthews as captain, is going to figure out a way to win the Stanley Cup.
You know what they need to do? They need to bring in some guys in UFA who are, other than those Florida bums, which is too bad because they fit the bill. But just bring in some playoff guys. Like, it just drives me crazy that we continually have
is
guys
Justin
that just
Williams
can't show
available?
Up. Yes, Justin Williams. Like, man, can you imagine if we got Rantanen? Like, guy scores at all the goals.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It seems like you and even the guys that aren't that guy till they become that guy, right? Like they don't seem to do it in Toronto.
They become that guy. Yeah, Zach Hyman goes to another team. And
yeah, not
Connor Brown all of a sudden can score playoff goals. So.
He's a free agent. You could get him, bring him
is.
back. Yeah, that's really where I'm at, and it's down. I don't want to like lie in this pod though and say that like I think the Leafs are going to win the cup or anything. I think even though they gave Florida the best run for their money of any other playoff team they went up against, I don't think that was the best the Leafs could have even looked into playoffs, right? Like,
yes.
And it's so funny, man, because Leafs teams have passed. If you could have figured, like, just even the ones that lost in the first round, I think if you figured out a way to put them in this year's playoff dance, they would have figured out a way to get it done. So it sucks, but we have 8 days to stew on the 2024-2025, Leafs and the disappointment that was, and then we turn the page over, and it's free agency, it's a new team, and
it's probably going to happen that both Tavares and Knies, if they happen, it's probably going to happen before free agency, like before July 1. So that's coming in the next week probably. We might have to do an emergency pod. We'll see.
Hey, what do you guys before we like wrap up, where do you think Mitch Marner's going, and what do you think he signs for?
Ooh, spicy. Tim has to go first.
It could be Vegas. I think he signs a 12x8. Like, I think he signs for less than the Leafs offered him. But I think he goes to a no tax state.
I was also gonna say Vegas, but that sounds lame.
Wait, he can't sign 12x8. He can sign 12x7.
Sorry, 12x7.
We can do sign and trade.
No, I don't think they do that.
It doesn't sound like he wants
Marner
to.
Marner
help
doesn't
the
want to
Leafs.
speak to the Leafs right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I've been seeing. I've also been seeing a few reports that he's interested in a short-term deal.
Actually, Carolina, that was the other team. I could see him going to Carolina.
You take Carolina, so I could take Vegas.
All right, give me Carolina,
All right.
and Marner can go play out his days and suck in obscurity.
I'll take Vegas because they get all the superstars every time, so it just seems like the safe bet. But I don't think he'll take the short term. He'll take 7 years. I think he'll take like 13 and a half, though.
I think he'll take 13, and I think he'll go to LA. It's high tax.
Right.
It's high tax. I just think I don't think all these other teams are lining up to sign him like it would be if McDavid or something like got to free agency. I wonder about Chicago too. I wonder about him going and playing with Bedard, and like I don't know if he wants to go somewhere that's like gaming for the cup right away. Do you know what I mean? I kind of think I'm gonna change it. I think it's Chicago.
Get him some even earlier summers. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think he just wants to have fun, play hockey, and like put up some points and stay out of the limelight a little bit. And
good riddance.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think whoever he goes, they're going to be disappointed.
Give him the C. Let him be the alpha dog and make his dad happy.
Dude,
I'm as bad as the media right now.
A 100-point player going to free agency at under 30 years old is unprecedented. Him signing for any less than the maximum amount of years is doubly unprecedented.
No, it's what Matthews does all the time.
No, but didn't go to UFA.
Oh, not
right. Do you know what I'm saying? Like those guys go and it's like they just signed the biggest contract in the history of the sport, kind of thing, right? To be like, I'll take a 3-year deal. Like,
I mean, it does put it in a bit of a different light. Like, remember when Matthews signed his 4 or 5 year deal, where it is like, oh, wish it was 8. Why is it not 8? He could have walked back then, and like here we are. Like maybe we should have been more thankful that he decided to stick around.
I disagree. Every other GM gets their superstars signed for 8 years, and ours was the only one who could only do it for 5. It still paid him.
He didn't even do it at all.
It still paid him the maximum amount.
Yeah,
it was.
I think it's 13 though. That's the number.
I take the under.
All right, let's go.
But speaking of Vegas, how the heck is Vegas going to have $13 million to spend on a player, by the way? That doesn't even make any sense.
Find a way.
They get everybody. Are you kidding me?
Holy cow. We ended this last season 9-1 in our last 10 games. That's crazy. All right, let's get out of here.
All right. Well, we're wrapping up. Like I said, enjoy your last 8 days of the summer, because then it's free agency and the Leafs are back. The pod's back. We're going to be yelling at you. We're going to tell you the signings we like, what we don't like, and Tim's gonna give us the numbers, because that's what he does. And Ryan gives us the passion. So thanks for joining us. That's all the time we got. We're signing off. Have a good night.